Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Matt the Hatch with Matt Green. How you doing, Matt?
How's it going, Marvin? Long time no talk.
Yeah, well, if you're the bug guy and it's the wintertime, there's not a lot to talk about, right?
I guess that's true. Bug guy's also been busy, so doing bug stuff.
Yeah, and you're in the home stretch, right? You were telling me you're going to be done with your PhD probably in the late spring.
Yeah, or early summer. You're really finished once you give your dissertation proposal seminar, or a defense is what people call it, and you're really done once you do that. That'll probably be sometime in June here.
Well, that's awesome. And, we were talking, and we'll get to the true bug stuff here in a second, but you're heading to Argentina, and it's actually kind of cool because I suspect you'll fish a little bit, but it's really, really a bug trip, right?
It's both, but doing a lot more sampling than they've probably ever done on some of their river systems. And we'll be on the Majeo and the Timuine and one other. I don't remember the name of it right offhand, but these are in Patagonia. Yeah.
Very cool. So, obviously it's wintertime, and people think about BWOs, and you were telling me before we started recording that it's really more than just blue-winged olives. You want to kind of take it from there and kind of tell folks about the family and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, sure. And folks, remember, when we talk about family, we're not, at least in biology, we're not really talking about, your family or my family or my next of kin or anything like that. Although at the family level of organization in biology, many of the organisms are related to each other, and relatedness is a part of it. But they're not sister species, or they're not very close cousin species. And what we mean by that is that they're very highly related. There are some species within a family that are very distantly related. So it's not like these are all insects that came from the same population or not even the same place. It's just a group of related species that can be distant or closely related. So keep that in mind when we talk about the word family. And that's important to keep in mind with the Betidae is the family of blue-winged olives, because you have lots and lots of different genera and lots of different species. And some are closely related and some aren't. I think it's a public service announcement, Marvin, to talk about Betis, or some fly fishermen say Betis, because not all Betis or Betis are Betids or Betidae. I think that's a mistake a lot of us make, and I made for a very, very long time before it became a serious entomologist. And, and that's kind of important. It really is, because the common name is blue-winged olive, and that really does apply well to almost all species and members of the family. But the term Betis or Betis does not apply well to all those members. And that's because Betis, the true blue-winged olive and the main representative of this family, follow those morphological characters and those color characters we associate with blue-winged olives. The nymphs, generally very small, anywhere. The early instars can be a 24 or 22 or a 20. The later instars are generally an 18. Earlier instars are cream colored, sometimes with a slight olive tint. Later on, they're more olive or tan olive, very similar to the adults. The adults, which are olive, sometimes tan. The males and females, the subimagos or subadults, are generally the same color. But the imagos, which have the clear wings that we've talked about in prior podcasts, Marvin, the males can be gray bodied, they can be red bodied, they can be black bodied. I mean, there's many different colors that you can tie the spinner in. Females generally more kind of amber to off red, sometimes pink. So they're pretty consistent, but the males can be multiple different colors depending on the species within Betis. But those are the true colors of the blue-wing olive. And that olive color comes from the subimago. The nymph that's emerging, that's going to ride the surface of the water that the fish sees just after emergence, with dun wings, typically, or tan. Okay. And some of these Betis subimagos can be a 16, sometimes an 18, sometimes a 20. And it just depends on the species, really, Marvin. Sometimes it depends on the time of year. Typically in the summer, Betis are going to be a little bit smaller, and that's because they're developing a good bit quicker in the spring, and they reach a smaller body size in the summer just because water temperatures are a little bit warmer. But in the early spring and the winter, they're typically a good bit larger. Sometimes a 16 or an 18, or even maybe bordering a 15 if you want to get into European hook sizes. And that's because they're taking a little bit longer to develop because water temps are colder. Many Betis and Betids in general are multivolting. That means they have multiple generations a year that typically overlap. And so they'll emerge all year round. And that's why they're really great to have in your fly box, because you can see them on almost any day. You can see them on rainy days. You can sometimes see them on bright sunny days in the summer, especially. Not so much as in the winter. They typically show up on those colder, cooler days, sometimes overcast, sometimes rainy. I've seen them pour off in those circumstances. They'll emerge in snow, in ice, 35-degree air temps, very cold water temps. They'll come off on tailwater rivers and some of our freestones in the southeast. Typically, I've seen them, the bulk of the emergence on places like South Holston and Watauga around March and April, prior to the Granum caddis, but right during or after the mid-emergences in February and early March is when the bulk of them will come off. And those are normally 55 to 50, maybe 45-degree days, cloudy, scattered showers, the conditions that you'll see. Some of the other genera that you may see are Acitrella, which includes this really, really small mayfly, Pseudochloion, which, people used to refer to all the time as pseudos, but they've been synonymized, or now they're included. That just means somebody decided somewhere, who's a taxonomic authority, that they're the same genus, or they're extremely closely related to another genus. So we're just going to call it the same name. So Pseudochloion have been synonymized with Acentrella. Those mayflies, if you really want to get technical about it, have a very reduced hind wing. Almost all the beaded have a reduced hind wing. And so they have real prominent forewings is subadults and adults, that the hind wing is just a nub. And that's a big difference compared to other mayfly families, because those hind wings are normally a good bit bigger, either a quarter to a half the size of the forewing, placed internal to the body from the forewing. So when you look at the organism, the forewing is what you see on the outside, that big, beautiful circle, and the hind wing is interior to that wing. So you'd have to actually fold them out to see it. So not a lot of people know that there are two wings there on all these mayflies, that the hind wings are greatly reduced relative to the forewings. Another genus that you might see is Heterocloion. Those tend to be more cream-colored nymphs, cream-colored adults too at times. They tend to be in warmer rivers, in cool waters and cold waters throughout the Southwest. But southeast, but you're going to find them in the summer, Marvin. That's the big thing. Really, you work out a beatus as you go through the summer and you transition into heterochloion. This genus called Ischwion, which is another cream-colored beaded. Clauditus, which is another cream-colored beaded, and Prochlorion, at least in the southeast. There's Calabetus, which can be found in western lakes, in eastern lakes and ponds, and slow water wetlands towards the Blackwater areas of the coastal plain, in some parts of the Carolina Piedmont, Virginia, and Maryland Piedmont. And so those are also fun things to fish and put on. Cream colored, if I didn't say that, can't remember. Size 14, they tend to be a little bit bigger. The adults have kind of mottled wings, so easy to imitate. You can use bars, a gray CDC or dun CDC for that effect. I used to be able to buy bars CDC at Hairline Dubbin, and then they discontinued it. I have no idea. It just seems to be a little on the expensive end, Marvin, unfortunately. And so that's a great thing to use if you can get your hands on it. And the bodies tend to be gray, kind of light dun colored, sometimes kind of a light blue to cream. Yeah.
Yeah, very neat. And, obviously when we talk BWOs, people, think about the dry fly fishing. How do you like to fish for them?
Well, I like to fish for them is the same way we talked about previously with my downwing dun or kind of puff daddy variant. With it's the fly with the biot body and a CDC wing. You tie it the same way we've talked about in the past, and you just match the biot color to the body of the insect you see coming off, and the wing color or the CDC color to that as well. And like I hope I drove down the point, there can be many different colors and body styles to these insects and sizes. Bead isn't the all to be all. On a lot of the tailwaters it is. But on the freestone rivers and creeks, especially as you work into the summer, you just have many more different genera. And so you go from a typical blue-wing olive of an olive body as a dun, with dun wings or gray wings, to a cream-colored dun, or even a very, very light olive, not a true green, or even yellow body as a dun, to dun wing or light gray wing, or even if you can really find it, like a white cream colored wing is the adult. Those beatus are the true dun colors, but and some of the Acitrella kind of fit that mold. One thing I didn't say is that they can have bodies that are almost like lavender in color, or kind of like a light blue, and they'll typically show themselves from March, April, May, and then cut off. At least here in the southeast, northeast, they may last a little bit longer on larger tailwaters. But the heterochlorion, the Plauditus, the Labiobeus, the Ischwion, the Prochlorion, those are cream colored for the most part. They're showing up later in the summer, and you're going to have those around. Lower South Holston has lots of Plauditus in the summer. Not many people know about that, and they're cream color. And the fish get picky, and you may not catch any if they get real picky and selective on them.
Got it. And do you like to do anything special in your nymph gain for them?
I mean, you can alternate the colors in the nymph. Summer, you can really switch to more cream colored or kind of light olive tint, where the olives are emerging. I'll do that sometimes, but a lot of times in the summer, Marvin, I'm more concerned about other nymphs than I am blue-winged olives. I'll fish olives as done, but I don't really do much with them with larvae or nymphs. And that's because I'm working on sulfurs and that kind of stuff, and Ceratella and more ephemerella nymphs than anything. The scorpion nymphs is ephemerella, and most ephemerellas have a stereotypical scorpion posture that they have, where they actually raise their abdomen and they raise it back where it looks like a scorpion getting ready to sting you. We talk about that at some point. I don't think we ever have. Just true ephemerella, which include the sulfurs, the Hendricksons, the Ceratella mayflies, Telegonopsis, the Darth Vader mayflies. We haven't ever talked about those, but Darth Vaders are jet black. Typically will follow the green drakes in the Northeast. It's a very fishable emergence during the middle of the day, 11 to 1 p.m., kind of mirroring the Dronella emergences of the East. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. And and folks, we love questions at the Articulate Fly, and Matt loves answering your questions, and you can drop them in the comments on our social media posts. You can DM us on Facebook or Instagram, or you can shoot us an email, and can't make any promises, but we're usually pretty good when people ask questions, either to do an entire report about the question or to work it into something, right, Matt?
Sure thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know you're leaving soon to go to the Southern Hemisphere. Safe travels.
Thank you, Marvin. The key message from what we've said, folks, if you want to boil it down, is there is a lot more diversity in the blue-winged olive group than there are just those typical olive color patterns. So just keep that in mind.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Matt.
Tight lines, Marvin. Take care.